Okay, so the recording is on. So welcome to this community meeting of Kubewarden. That's the second one we're having. So we have an agenda which is inside of the Google document. And I'm right now looking into that. So anytime if you want to discuss something during the next meeting, feel free to add this information to the agenda. And yeah, everybody is free to add topics to show what he's been working on, playing with Kubewarden, or if he has any kind of question about Kubewarden. So the agenda for today is to do, first of all, a quick follow-up about the first community meeting. So we have done the recording of the community meeting. The link to the first community meeting has been shared on Slack. So, but if you need to have it because you missed that, just let us know. I also just merged a pull request from a community member against the Kubewarden controller repository, which basically added some community-related information to the README. That includes also the meeting. It was done by you, Exit, maybe? Oh, thanks. Thank you. I wasn't sure. Aside from that, we are sorting out the details about where to push the recordings for long-term storage. We're going to upload them to YouTube. I don't know if we're going to create a Kubewarden channel or if we're going to use something else, but we will announce that, so stay tuned. That was the first item. The next one is the next community meeting. So we are doing that on a monthly basis on the first day of the month. This month we had to postpone it by 1 week because we were busy with another event. So the next meeting will take place during the month of March, and on the day of 9 of March, same day, same hour. We are also creating a calendar, a shared calendar that you can add to your own personal calendar that keeps track of these events, so you can stay up to date with our meetings. And this is it about the previous edition of the meeting. Having said that, the next topic on the agenda is the Kubewarden UI release. And for that one, I leave the stage to Jordan.
Thank you, Flavio. So yes, you may have seen the UI has been released. Let me share my screen. Can you see this browser here? Okay. All right. So here you can find in our blog, we have a new blog post that basically explains the whole thing, and it will also lead you to the documentation if you need it. But here I will show you, I'll just run through basically a quick installation of the extension itself. I have this fresh Rancher installation, and the first thing I need to do is go to the extensions and enable extensions. And you need to add this Rancher extension repository, so the Kubewarden extension will actually show up automatically. And bear with me, it takes a little bit of time. It's essentially just installing a Helm chart, which creates this extension module on top of Rancher. And sometimes you have to refresh the page to get the repository to actually load. And once that's there, you can see we have Elemental and Kubewarden. So I'm going to go ahead and install Kubewarden. And this also takes a bit of time, but it's about the same thing. It's another Helm chart that it installs. So it's just taking all of that information from the Kubewarden UI repository and then packaging it into Rancher. It's not the most exciting thing to watch, but you're here with me. Okay, now we're going to reload. And that's in there. We'll go to the local cluster because that's where I installed it. And once that's there, now on the side navigation, you'll see you have the Kubewarden menu item. This will bring you to the Kubewarden dashboard. So you can install here. We just have to have a few prerequisites. So adding the cert manager package, fairly straightforward. Once that's ready, then you need to add the charts.kubewarden.io repository. That will add. Once that's done and the chart refreshes, this install Kubewarden button will pop up. And this will just take you to the Kubewarden chart installation page. So this is just a Helm chart that you can find in Kubewarden/Helm charts. And I'm just going to go ahead and install it. It takes a little bit of time, just like everything. Okay, that's deployed. And luckily things have refreshed. Now you'll be presented with some new menu items, a new dashboard page for Kubewarden. You have a couple of things where it'll show you the policy servers that you have active. You can create from here, go straight to the list, and the same goes for admission policies and cluster admission policies. This banner here will basically direct you to the Kubewarden defaults chart, which will install a set of pre-selected policies and the policy server, which I've taken the liberty of already installing on this other one. And as you can see, I have a couple of pods of policy servers, a few admission policies and cluster admission policies, and then that would show up here. And then I'm going to go into the detail page of the policy server. And here you'll see we have a few policies that are targeted to this policy server. They're already validating a few things, which you can see in the tracing tab if you have Jaeger installed. And also metrics is now working somewhat. So that's basically it from my demo. Let me see. Okay. And with that, I think I'll pass it off to you, Flavio.
Thanks, Jordan. Nice, nice. So all of that is already available, as you can see, so ready to be used. Are there questions about that? Okay, so I do have a question which kind of goes into some updates. So we realized that we introduced a regression with a Kubewarden 1.5 release. The regression is related with running Rego-based policies. So with Kubewarden 1.5, we introduced this feature, which is called timeout protection, that basically stops the policies from running after a certain amount of time, just to prevent policies to take over the policy server with long-running evaluation. So this feature basically broke the Rego-based policies. We realized that this morning, and we did a patch release of policy server. So the container image of policy server is already out. The Helm charts is already updated so that this version of policy server is installed. My question for Jordan is, what happens if I try to install Kubewarden through this UI? Do we have to do something in order to propagate the change also to the UI users, or is it automatic?
It's not technically automatic, but all you would have to do is update the chart that is using the policy server or the Kubewarden controller. And once you update that chart, every change that you've implemented will be implemented as well.
Okay, sorry, I got distracted because Jose is trying to get into the meeting, but he's struggling with that. Sorry. I got a question from Glenn, who joined us in the meantime. And Glenn asked if it would be possible to demo the way that a custom policy can be deployed inside of a cluster.
Certainly. Let me go back to my browser.
So for custom policy, in the meantime, I would just give some background. So when you go and try to deploy a new policy, you are shown a list of available policies here in the create. All these policies are the ones that are currently hosted on Artifact Hub. Everybody can do a Kubewarden policy and upload that to Artifact Hub, and then the policy will be shown in there. We are going to write some documentation explaining how to basically have the UI automatically generate the settings form, because each policy can have its own settings, and we use some metadata inside of the policies to allow the creation of these UIs. Can you show one of them, maybe, Jordan, just to clarify things?
Certainly. Yeah. So I think, for instance, this one has already rules for resource type of pods, and it also has some settings that come along with it. It doesn't have any in this one, for instance. Maybe something more like allow privilege escalation, which I think has one setting. So we have allow privilege escalation, also has some rules that were pre-populated from the chart. And that's that.
Yeah, so this is what we were talking now. If we go through the custom policy workflow, you will see that, for example, all the settings UI is there, but you have to enter YAML like you would do with a kubectl apply. So we're going to provide instructions about how anybody can upload a policy to Artifact Hub and have this UI automatically filled.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll run through maybe this one real quick. Let's see. I think I can grab it straight from here. Can I not? Actually,
you have to go, I think doing that on Artifact Hub is good, but
yeah. So
what matters is this URL, the container registry where a policy is being hosted. It could be a container registry, or it could be an HTTP or an HTTPS server.
Yeah, and the main thing is you just have to put it into the module here. Select your policy server, which I already have that, and you have to set the rules that pertain to this. So I think for allowed FS groups, it's pods, v1, and I think, is it just create and update?
I think so. In case you don't know what to put in there, the policy author has to provide this information when creating the policy. And so you could see that by doing a kwctl inspect. I can show that afterwards.
Oh, okay. And then I'll add these settings here just for posterity. Then we'll go ahead and finish. While that's pending, you will be able to see, if you go to the policy server deployment pod, as it's attempting to validate it. You can view the logs here. I believe this is the right one.
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes it takes a minute. Oh, there we are. Okay, now it's checking all of them. Okay, it found our namespace, and it looks like it's accepted it. So now I guess it's just applying everything. And soon enough, it should become active. I say soon enough, but it does tend to take a minute.
I saw you were running this allow load balancer, which is a Rego-based policy. So unless you are running with a patched version of policy server that I mentioned, this is not going to start.
Right. Well, I think I actually added the workaround that you mentioned in our Slack channel.
Okay.
And it did end up working. But this one, yeah, it did become active. So now we have allow FS groups. It's technically a a custom policy, just because we created it on our own. You can check the config here, and it will still show the settings. And I have a little bug here with margin, but if you want to look at the YAML, you can see exactly what you would see. And that's essentially it. Hope that answers your question, Glenn.
Yes, thank you. Is there a way to tell which policies are from artifact or you know, kind of the pre-made ones that are supported versus custom?
What I've added here for things that are created with Artifact Hub, I've added this annotation into policies where it'll just be Artifact Hub package, and it will give me the package name plus the version number. That's essentially the only way I can view it at the moment. Certain things that are run with the Kubewarden defaults, you can see the release name is coming from the Helm chart itself. And for this custom policy, it just will not have any annotation, as I didn't put anything in there.
Okay.
Maybe it would be a good idea to have like a badge or something within this list page that would show if it's custom or not.
Cool, thanks, Jordan. So maybe I can show what I was mentioning before, the usage of KWCTL to look into a random policy to see what kind of rules it takes. So this was not planned. So let me share my desktop. Whoa. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Artifact Hub. So it was what was the name, Jordan? Sorry. Of the policy you picked?
I picked the allowed FS groups PSP policy, I think is the full name.
Yeah, that one. Okay, so what you can do is you obtain a policy from a container registry. So you pull it down. That's KWCTL, which is the CLI tool that, let me increase the font size. Okay, so I did a pull, and now I'm going to do an inspect. And this is showing the metadata inside of a policy. So it tells you what is the name of the policy, the description, who is the author, where the source code is, the license, some information whether this is a policy that can perform mutation. This is something that we are working on. It's a background audit feature. We can talk about that at the end if you're interested about that, but we will definitely keep you up to date. A bunch of different information. But this is what I was mentioning before. So it can be tricky, honestly, for a user to understand what the policy is capable of processing in terms of what kind of resources does it look for and what kinds of events is it interested in. And this information has to be provided by a policy author. The workflow to publish a policy requires the author of a policy to provide this information. And so with this information, you can go inside of the UI and just put inside of it the right data. If you're using a custom policy with a workflow that Jordan used, if you're pulling something from Artifact Hub, this is already pre-filled. So yeah. Another interesting thing that you can do is that you can do a scaffold of a YAML file using the generate command. I never remember. Oh, it's a scaffold. Yeah. You can scaffold a manifest. And then you can say what kind of resource you're going to create. Is it a cluster admission policy or an admission policy? In this case, we are just going to use an admission policy. You can provide some settings by default about what has to be, written. And yeah, and this basically generates the YAML that you can then change it a bit and feed into Kubernetes using kubectl or whatever you want. The settings here is empty because I didn't provide them, but you could provide them using this syntax. The idea behind this comment is that you use kwctl run to try the policy locally using different kind of settings, and once you are happy with it, you just do the scaffold with the same settings, and you have a good foundation for a policy to deploy inside of the cluster. So yeah, that's basically the idea. Any question? All right. So let me stop the screen share. I see that Jose finally managed to connect. Welcome, Jose. And that's really good timing because Jose has to talk about the next topic, which is the Linux Foundation Mentorship Program.
Yeah, sorry for being late. So just update, as you saw in our communication channels, we have 2 projects accepted in the Linux Foundation mentorship program. So we're right now we're in the process to accepting the submissions to candidates to both of the projects. You can choose one of them. One is for improving Kubewarden policies in general, and another one is to bring feature parity between, especially more specifically between Rust and Go SDKs. And we have candidates for both of the projects. So we are waiting for the final deadline for submissions. After that, we can evaluate the candidates and decide which one we would like to pick. Just for the candidates that maybe are watching, don't be sad if you rejected. Our bandwidth is limited, and if you reject, it's not because you don't deserve, it's just because we have a limited amount of men work, let's say, and that may brings us to decide which one we will be able to manage. So, but we are always open, we are always open for contributions anytime, so we can help on that, even if after or during the program, if you're not a mentee, or if you are or not a mentee of in this specific term of the mentorship program. So just to let you know, the deadline for submissions is February 14th. You need to submit in the Linux Foundation website. I've added in our office hours doc the links for the documentation. Be aware that we need to do some tasks before the submission, like send some documents, something like that. We can find more information about that in docs. So there is some prerequisites for submissions. But after that, we have time to decide which candidates we accept, and you will be able to let you know if you are accepted or not to work with us. But again, even if you are not accepted, please, we are always happy to get new people work on the project. So feel free to reach us, even if you are not a mentee of the Linux Foundation program mentorship. I don't know if I'm clear enough, but I saw that we have a candidate here. So if you have any question, let us know.
Thanks, Jose. So if you have further questions about the mentorship program, feel free to reach out to us on Slack. That's a good way to reach out to us on any kind of topic, including this one.
Yeah.
Okay. And having said that, is there anything else we would like to talk about?
Nothing for me.
All right, looking at Slack to see if there are questions. No. All right, Ben, thanks for attending. If you, in case you forgot, you missed, the next community meeting will take place on March 9. It's again a Thursday, and we will publish a calendar, share calendar with a list of all these meetings. And also we will publish the recording to this meeting after this event is over. So I'm stopping the recording.